Good morning and welcome all to the AWS webinar. Our topic for today is building engaging voice experiences with Alexa. Our speaker for today is Karthik from AWS. You can post your questions in the Q&A box and we would address the same post the presentation. We once again thank you for making the time to join the session. Over to you, Karthik.
Thanks, Rahul. Good morning, everyone. My name is Karthik Raghupati, and I am a solutions architect with the Alexa Skills Kit team here at Amazon, Bangalore. And today I'm going to be speaking about building engaging voice experiences with Alexa. First of all, a warm welcome to all of you who have been joining us from the Smart India Hackathon. And in this presentation today, I'm going to be speaking about how to build the right practices, right skills for the hackathon, and how to get started with building the skills. I just got noticed that a lot of you have not built any skills before, so I'll be also walking through how to build a simple skill and probably give a few tips and tricks on how to ace the hackathon as well. So let's get started. So one of the things that I always mention to everyone who attends or I talk to them about Alexa is that Alexa is growing pretty fast. And for Amazon, Alexa is pretty important in its own strategy. And one of the things that we have done in this past 5 years and almost 6 years now is that Alexa has been now started to support in 15 countries. And one of the latest countries to support was Hindi. One of the latest languages to support was Hindi. And we have other countries like Spain, Japan, Brazil, and a lot of other countries where Alexa is supported. Now, apart from that, we also have something called as Alexa built-in devices. So you might have seen on the market, there are some devices like the Bose headphones that come with Alexa enabled, or maybe a Xiaomi phone that has Alexa enabled, or a Redmi phone for that matter, right? So there are 150 plus products that have Alexa built in. And apart from that, one of the things that people use Alexa mostly for is smart home devices, right? So say, for example, in my house, I have two lights from two different brand manufacturer, right? And if I wanted to switch off the light every time, what I need to do is I need to log into log into one app, switch off the light, and then come out and then log into another app and switch that off, right? So the problem with that is it's not user friendly at all. But with Alexa, what our users have figured out is that if I could add them as a smart home device, I could just say, Alexa, switch off the tube light, or Alexa, switch off the lights in the dining room, right? And Alexa will just understand that. One of the major reasons that you guys are here today, you folks are here today, is to learn about Alexa skills. And right now we have 100,000 plus Alexa skills built by hundreds and thousands of Alexa developers. Now that might not seem like a huge number at first, and I think that's a good thing, because this is almost like how mobile platforms were back in 2010. Right, I remember in 2000 when the mobile smartphone revolution started in 2007, 2008. For the next couple of years, there were not many apps at all. But after 2010, something happened, and a lot of today we have almost so many millions app in the app stores, right? So I think for Amazon, we definitely believe that voice is going to be the next major disruption in computing, and this would be a good time for you as developers to jump onto this bandwagon and build some really good Alexa skills. Let's get started with the problem statement. This webinar is a part of the Smart India Hackathon. So let's discuss about the problem statement for a minute, right? So the problem statement is use Alexa to innovate and build the next generation of interfaces for tourists in India. Now that is quite an interesting and exciting challenge. India is a huge country with a lot of diversity in tourism, and a lot of foreigners come every year to visit visit tourist places, right? So how can you use Alexa to build the next generation of interfaces for tourists, right? So your solutions should first of all aim to solve pain points of tourists. So say for example, I'm visiting museum, right? And I want to know all about the museum. So how cool it would be if I could build a solution where I go to different places in the museum and I ask Alexa, Alexa, what is this painting about? And Alexa tells me, okay, this painting is sorry, this painting is so and so, was made by so and so person, or stuff like that. You can also talk about destination reviews and SOS and emergency support for international travelers, travel guides, or even a simple skill like visa, a visa skill, right? So, for example, if I want to go to some foreign country and I'm an Indian citizen, what are the visa process for that, right? So I could build a skill like that. So I could just say, I'm an Indian citizen trying to go to US visa, trying to go to US. Do I need a visa? And then the skill says, yes, you need a visa, and here are the guidelines for this visa, and I've sent a link to you, right? So stuff like that. So just make sure that whatever solution you are building, it's intuitive to use, and a lot of times, and this is why a lot of people use Alexa as well. Uh, you know, uh, make your skill accessible, and that is one of the major things, right? There are a lot of physically abled people and physically challenged travelers. See if you could use your Alexa skills, and a lot of them use Alexa because it does not sometimes require a lot of interacting with screens or pointed devices or keyboards or mice, right? So, and it's all voice, right? So a lot of physically challenged travelers could find that easy. So how about you build a skill that could help them out find the accessible places um, in India at tourist spots. So that is the major problem statement. Using Alexa to innovate and build the next generation of interfaces. I have some ideas. Like I have some really um, cool ideas that I have seen in the travel and the navigation space, tourism space generally, that I wanted to highlight some of them. One of them is Redbus. I'm pretty sure many of us know about Redbus. Redbus is a app website that helps you book tickets, and the Alexa skill allows you to do the same thing as well. The next one is something called as the ride splitter, and this is like a very fun and a different way of thinking about tourism. I'm pretty sure I sometimes travel with my friends, and when I'm traveling with my friends and we go out partying somewhere, let's say 10 people, we don't know how many Ubers are needed for for traveling from one spot to another for 10 people. So this skill is very simple. If you tell the skill how many people are there and which country you are in, it tells you the recommended regulations on how many people can sit in a car, and how many Ubers you would need for that specific purpose. So really, really cool skill. Indian Railways is also there on Alexa, which tells you the train details and the train information and so on. Um, last but not the least, one of the favorite skills that I have is a skill called as a language translator, voice translator. And what the skill does basically is, um, I could say to the skill, Alexa, translate in German, ask voice translate to translate in German, and then the skill, um, almost goes into a translation mode. And then if I say to the skill something like good morning, then it would say Guten Morgen in German to the person. So this is pretty useful. Imagine you are a tourist coming in from some different country, and you want to talk to someone here in Hindi. You can build a skill where you can say something and then it can translate that, and that could be something that the other person hears and responds back, right? So you can always build skills like that you know that really are useful for tourists. So I want you to think of ideas or pain points that you think tourists will have, and build for solutions on top of that using Alexa. All right. Now let's get started with understanding how Alexa works in general. And this is how Alexa generally works. There is the core central framework is something called as the Amazon Alexa Cloud. Now all of Alexa lives in this cloud. So that means if you bought an Alexa device, you don't need to update it, most of the times, right? All you need to do is Alexa, because it lives in the cloud. Uh, all of the learning is happening in the cloud. So if there is something that Alexa does not understand today, tomorrow if it gets updated in the cloud, Alexa understands that as well, right? How cool is that? Now, automated speech recognition, natural language understanding, these are the two major algorithms or frameworks, processes that happen in the backend that makes Alexa as robust as it is. And it's been 5 to 6 years, and these algorithms have evolved now to make it even more powerful. Now, on top of all of this, what you have is something called as the Alexa Skills Kit. Now, Alexa Skills Kit is how you connect to your consumer. So if you want to build an app on top of Alexa, this is how you are going to do it. You are going to use something called as Alexa Skills Kit. The next thing, there is something also called as Alexa Voice Services. So say if you build a device that you want to integrate Alexa inside it, Alexa Voice Service is the way to go about that. Now, let's get started with building the skill. Now, just like any other application that we might have seen before, every application has two parts. One is the front end and the other is the back end, right? Now, there are the same things when you try to build a skill as well. The front end here is called as the voice user interface, which basically deals with how a user interacts with your skill. What do they need to say to go to this part? The UI UX part of voice designing is the voice user interface. And the backend is programming logic. Now, programming logic is where you are going to write your algorithms, your databases, your API calls, or your logic basically, right? Now, when we talk about creating an Alexa skill, there are two ways. So the front end, you will use a link called as developer.amazon.com, which is the Amazon developer portal, which is where you will be building all these skills. And the backend is aws.amazon.com. Now, keep in mind that you don't need to have an AWS account for this. You can always have your own custom server. That is perfectly fine. But if you use aws.amazon.com, it is very tightly coupled, and we use AWS and AWS Alexa Skills Kit is tightly integrated with the serverless compute services like AWS Lambda. We'll see more of this Lambda bit when we create a skill, but Lambda is basically an AWS service that is triggered in response to events and automatically manages the underlying resources for you. So you don't have to worry about managing server. Things like scaling, fault tolerance are automatically done for you. All you need to do is just bring your own code, Python, Node, Java, and it just works. Let's now look what happens when I say something to Alexa. So let's say, for example, I said something like, Alexa, play A.R. Rahman songs. So the very first thing that happens is something called as wake word detection, where if I say something to Alexa, when I say the word Alexa, Alexa wakes up. So that is wake word detection happening in the starting. Now, once that is done, whatever I say after Alexa, it gets recorded and it is sent to the cloud. Now, once it is sent to the cloud, what happens is, first of all, we do a lot of speech recognition on it. Now, this is very important because speech recognition is understanding what the user has said and trying to convert it into text, right? So take an audio file and convert it into text. Now, this is very difficult because, in sound, whenever we speak, phonemes are the unit of sound, right? Of spoken sound. So look at this phoneme here. The phoneme says 40 times, right? Now, one of the things this can mean is 40 times, which means 41s are 40, 42s are 80, It can also mean 40 times, means you want to go and drink some tea with your friends, right? Or it could mean 40 times, which means basically to golf, right? Go and golf. And the other option is that it can also mean 40 times, right? So you see what the biggest problem here is, right? The problem is understanding from a phoneme what the user meant. Okay, and the Alexa team has invested a lot into algorithms, and we have come up with crystal clear ASR accuracy. So now when you speak to Alexa, Alexa understands most of the times. And like I said, if it doesn't, it's something that can get updated in the cloud tomorrow, and Alexa just gets more intelligent. Now, once we get the text, then what happens is we get the natural language understanding out of it. And what natural language understanding does is it takes the text and it tries to understand what the user asked for. Maybe the user asked for A.R. Rahman songs, so it will play the A.R. Rahman songs. Maybe the user asked for something like open Ola and book a ride. Maybe that's what the user asked for. So in that case, Alexa will call the Ola skill. Now, once Alexa understands what it needs to do, if the request goes to a skill or if it has to go to your skill, what happens is Alexa sends your skill a JSON file, a JSON request. And we'll look about this in a bit more, but all of the cool algorithms that you're seeing, like speech recognition, machine learning, natural language understanding, all the output that you get out of that is a very simple JSON file, as simple as that. Now, let's take a minute here and try and understand some really how users interact with Alexa skills. So I'm going to be building this Alexa skill called as Mumbai Facts. And what Mumbai Facts skill does is it tells you facts about Mumbai, right? Now, the way I can talk to the skill or any skill basically is by saying something like, Alexa, ask Mumbai facts for facts, right? Now, Alexa is the wake word. There are 4 different wake words: Alexa, Amazon, Eco Computer, that the customer can set from their mobile app. The next is something called as a launch phrase, and launch phrases are something like your verbs. So say basically ask, tell, launch, enable, disable, verbs like that. That is what launch phrases are. You don't have to do much about these 2 things, but it's good to know what are the options here. The most important thing that you will have to decide is the invocation name, right? So the invocation name is Mumbai Facts. And what Mumbai Facts invocation name it does is basically just like how a skill has, how a website has a domain name, a skill has something called as an invocation name. So the invocation name for this skill is Mumbai Facts. So if I say ask Mumbai Facts, the Mumbai Facts skill will open up. If I say open Mumbai Facts, it's going to open Mumbai Facts skill as well, right? Now, the last but not the least part is for facts, right? That is what we call as an utterance. So this is something that is going to vary from user to user, right? It's going to be something totally different. So like, for example, I might say for facts, but a user might say for a tourist place or for some cool facts, right? So it's the same thing, but people might say it in different ways, right? And there are tens and thousands of combinations that you cannot keep on filling in. So what we do is when you are trying to build an Alexa skill, you take all of these utterances together and you group into something called as intent. Now, what that means is this is just intending that, hey, this is how if a user says, I want some cool facts or a fact, you should come to the fact intent. That is what we are basically saying. Now, the other way to deal with this is also saying something like, rather than saying, Alexa, ask Mumbai facts for facts, I can say, Alexa, open Mumbai facts. And then Alexa says, welcome to Mumbai facts. What can I do for you? And then you say, what is the visiting time for Gateway of India? Now, here's the problem with this utterance. The word Gateway of India can be anything, right? It could be something like, say, Juhu Beach, or maybe it could be something like Marine Drive, right? So the problem here is you cannot keep on adding different utterances for each of them, right? You cannot add what is the visiting time for Gateway of India, what is the visiting time for Bandra. You don't need to do that. What you can do here is you could just say, you can just highlight Gateway of India as a slot, and that slot is something that I would call as a variable, and that variable's value can keep on changing, right? So say, for example, we are still in the fact intent, but this time the variable name is place and the value is Gateway of India. So if a user says something like, I want to go to Marine Drive, the place value will be Marine Drive, and that is what will get passed on to your skill. Coming back to the skill, so what you do is you will get a JSON file that says, hey, this is what the user asked for, this is the intent that they asked for. You will do your calculation, and once you have done your calculation, you are going to send the response back to Alexa. So like I mentioned back sometime back, you are going to get a JSON request, right? Now, the JSON request, you have to make sure you pass it properly, and once you pass it properly, you send it back to them, back to the Alexa service in the form of a JSON as well. So it's a JSON in and a JSON out. And if you want to become a very good Alexa developer or want to build really cool solutions, look at the JSON file. Now, once the JSON file comes to Alexa, what Alexa does is Alexa applies some text to speech algorithms to that, so that Alexa can speak properly. And you might have heard that when Alexa speaks, it's more human-like, right? So we have put in a lot of research into this, and one of the things that we support here is streaming audio. So if you want to say open the skill, right, and you want to put in an audio file to play, you can play an audio file and then you can have Alexa speak something. So that is something totally doable. We also support SSML with it, and this is very important, right? Because when we speak to someone, we always tend to have these pauses or some time to think, and which is what makes us more human and not makes us sound robotic, right? So so if I wanted Alexa to pause, I could say, well, break time is equal to 3 seconds. Okay. And then what happens is Alexa will take that pause. So make sure you are looking into SSML, and I'll show you how to integrate SSML as well in a while. But yeah, that is how you can do it. So SSML is what you need to do. And then finally, then Alexa speaks it out. And that is how this entire map works. You say something to Alexa, it gets to the cloud, it does speech recognition and machine learning, natural language understanding. Then it calls your skill. Your skill does all the heavy lifting of algorithms, APIs, or database calls and stuff like that. And then it returns back a response to the skill. And then once it gets a response back to the skill, then Alexa uses text to speech and then speaks it out. So that is how briefly Alexa works. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to build an Alexa skill and show you how to get started with building a very simple Alexa skill. While I bring up my browser here, just give me a minute. I'll just take a couple of questions as well, maybe. I see a few questions here. Okay, so Prasad asks, can Alexa understand and give the answer about what is the sound if I give a specific sound to Alexa? So Prasad, yes, Prasad, sorry, this is something that is not possible right now because Alexa cannot do to a skill as per se. That is not something that is supported right now. Okay, so let's get started. So the very first thing that you need to do is you need to go to developer.amazon.com, and this is how once you go to developer.amazon.com, let me just open up that file page, developer.amazon.com, sign up with your accounts, then go on developer console. Now once you go to developer console, there is this option of Alexa here. Click on Alexa and click on Alexa skills kit. Now, once you do this, this is where you will see all the skills that you have created. And you will see a create skill option here. Just click on create skill. Now, so on this page is where you will put in all the information about your skill. So I'm going to put in my skill name. I'm going to put in Mumbai facts. Mumbai facts. And I need to choose a default language. The default language is English India, but don't worry about the language. You can add as many languages as possible later on to the skill. Then you need to choose the front end for the skill, right? So we talked about front end. So there are 4 different front ends right now in India, that is custom, flash briefing, smart home, and video. Custom is what you should choose, but flash briefing is mostly for news skills. So say for example, when a user says, Alexa, what's in the news? And you want to get news from RSS feed, that is what you would use. If you have a smart home device that you want to control with Alexa, or that you want to users to control through Alexa, you can use the smart home skill. And if you want to show some videos, the video skill is what will help you out. So I'm going to choose custom. and then I need to choose a method to host your skills backend resource, right? So what I will do is Alexa hosted Node.js. This is what I will do. But the other options are provision your own. And what provision your own basically does is provision your own is going to give you the feasibility to bring in your own servers. But if you choose Alexa hosted Node.js, it will just create your own Lambda, um, your own Lambda endpoint. Think of it as like a shared AWS account. If you choose provision your own, you can bring in Lambda links from your own AWS account, right? So I'm going to choose go with Node.js for now. I'm going to click on create skill. Now, once I click on create skill, what it is going to do is it's going to say fact skill option, right? There's a fact skill option here. So I'm going to choose that, but there are different skills. Make sure you try all of them and understand how these are built. All of them are available here, and you can see all the code and everything here. So this is pretty cool. So just click on choose. Now this will take a couple of minutes. Let me just answer a couple of other questions. Kanduri Sheshapavan asks, can we install Alexa as an app in our mobile? Yes, Kanduri, we do have an Alexa mobile app that you can download from the App Store. That is available. Kishan Kumar asks, can Alexa detect two persons' voice? Yes, Kishan, this is something that is totally possible. Look into Voice ID. This is a feature that we recently launched, and your skill also has access to the person's voice ID as well. So this is something that is totally cool. So say for example, my mother is speaking to Alexa and I'm speaking to Alexa, so Alexa can detect who is speaking. So that is something that is totally possible. Jatin says maybe Prasad's answer earlier about detecting Alexa sounds can be done using Shasham API. Jatin, I believe the question was more about how if Alexa can detect the sound or not, and which Alexa cannot. Like Alexa cannot, if you give Alexa a song, Alexa may not be able to detect that song today and tell you what song it is. So at this point, that's not possible. Anyways, keep bringing in your questions. I will keep answering them. But yeah, here we are. So I built a very simple skill, and once you start building, you have created your first skill. This is how it looks like. On the right hand side, you will have a checklist. On the left hand side, you will have your interaction model. There are some tutorials here in the middle, so feel free to just check them out. The very first thing that I'm going to do is go to invocation name. The invocation name is Mumbai Facts, as we discussed. So it basically took the name as a invocation name. This is perfectly fine. But if you want to, look about all the best practices and all of this is available here in invocation name requirements, right? Just read through this documentation. Okay, so this is where you will change the invocation name. Make sure you have a very good invocation name. That is the most important thing that we are going to also judge you based on that. And of course, users will also want a very useful invocation name. Anyways, now moving on to the intent. So there are different intents. So remember I told you about how there was a fact intent that supported different utterances. That's the same thing here, right? So there is something called as the get new fact intent. And what it does is there are some sample utterances here. So let me just delete all these utterances. And so what is the user going to say? How is the user going to ask for a Mumbai fact, right? So the user could say ask for a Mumbai fact, right? Or sometimes the user could say, tell me something cool about Mumbai, right? Or maybe just say something like Mumbai facts, or maybe something like, um, tell me something interesting about Mumbai. Okay, so stuff like that. This is what Alexa can do, the utterances and all. So now once you have put in these utterances, that's all you need to do. Just click on save model and build model, right? Built-in intent. So this once you click on this, this is basically we are training Alexa that hey, if a user says any of these things, go to get new fact intent. Or if a user says something that is somewhat close to these things, go to get new fact intent. So Alexa's algorithm does all of that. Now, once because this model is being trained, I'm going to go to the code option here. Okay, um, let's get started now. So this is how my backend code looks like, and I'm using Node.js, but you are free to do this in Python. We have a Python SDK as well. We also have a Java SDK as well. So feel free to use any of these SDKs. Feel free to use any of these SDKs and test out how these skills work. Um, um, you know, um, if you are not familiar with Java, Python, or Node.js and you want to use your own language, we have the feasibility to do so as well. Just all you need to do these days is just if your language can read a JSON and send a JSON back, that's all that is needed. So this is something that is totally possible. Now let's look at the backend code, and this is very simple. So now what I'm going to do here is, remember we had a very simple intent. The name of this intent was get new fact intent, right? So now what this get new fact intent does is, in the code here I said that, hey, if the request that I'm getting from Alexa, so remember I told you the skill, your Alexa skill is going to get a request from Alexa. So if the request type is intent request and the request intent name is get new fact intent, then what you need to do is go into this code, right? So that's what I have basically written in this code here. And so if a user says open Mumbai facts, then the request type is going to be launch request, right? So if a user says open Mumbai facts, we are going to come to this method. Or if the user says open Mumbai facts and ask for a Mumbai fact, right? In that case, it's going to be an intent request with get new fact intent. So we have supported both of them. You can see an or option here, either launch request or intent request and get new fact intent, right? So now once this is done, what we are going to do is it's going to come inside the handle function here. And what this handle function is going to do is it's going to handle the response. And then what we can do here is we can just look into the code. Now request attributes dot facts. Now what happens is this skill is localized. That means if a user is accessing it from US, you might have it in a US accent, or you can have different responses for that. But if they are handling it from Hindi, you might want to have different responses. So that's what this request attributes.t method does. Very simple. All it does is it basically just localizes according to whatever language the user is speaking in. Now let's look at this facts array. We have a file called as languagestring.js. I'm going to open that up. And this is basically defined here. We have language strings is equal to required language strings, right? So now what I'm going to do here is going to language strings here. And you can see here, the skill name is space facts. So I'm just going to change this to Mumbai facts because that's the name of the skill. And then change the help message, help reprompt. So I'm just going to change this to, you can tell me Mumbai fact, or you can say etc, right? The Mumbai, and there is something called as a fallback message which gets played when the user says something that Alexa does not understand. So then in that case you can say, hey, the Mumbai fact skill cannot help you with that. Maybe it can only help you discover facts about Mumbai. If you say, tell me a Mumbai fact, what can I help you with, right? So you're just telling the user that, hey, I cannot do this, but this is the only thing that I can do. Now, once that is done, what I need to do here is I need to, you can see an array here, which is basically the facts array, right? So you can look at this facts array, and what we are going to do here is this facts array is full of space facts, but I'm going to put in some Mumbai related facts here, right? Let's choose some Mumbai related facts. So uh, I know that the first ever train to run in India was between Mumbai and Pune. Sorry, Mumbai and Thane, as far as I know. Okay. I could also, I'll just say Mumbai was once an archipelago of 7 islands, right? Mumbai has a coastline of around 150 kilometers. Mumbai has a coastline of around 150 kilometers, right? So stuff like that, and then just remove it, right? Okay. So these are the facts, right? I'm just going to click on save here. Index.js. So what's going to happen is the facts array, we are getting a random fact from there, and then we are saying get fact message. So what is the fact message? The fact message is here's your fact. So Alexa's, and then what we do here is then we get Alexa to speak it out by saying handler input dot response builder. We are building the response at this point, and it can speak. So I'm going to say speak, and what to speak? The speak output. So whatever speak output we have, that is what we are passing it on here with a very simple card, right? So the card shows up in the mobile app with a simple card with a, people can look at the card and see more information if they want to, right? So that's all it does. I'll click on save and I'll click on deployment. So this is where we are deploying the code so that we can just test out the skill. So I can now see the deployment is successful, and now I need to test the skill. So if I want to test my skill, there are a couple of ways to do that. One is I could test it out on my device. If I have logged in with the same account here, with the same email ID as the same email ID in the device, I don't need to publish the skill. I can just say Alexa, open Mumbai facts, right? You can do this with your mobile app as well. Just download the Alexa mobile app and you can control it, and you can just speak it. You can test out your skill on your mobile app as well. Okay. Um, Now, once that is done, the other way to test it out is if you don't have a device, you can test it out on a simulator. Just click on the test option here, and a simulator opens up here, right? So the test is right now disabled for the skill. So I'm going to enable this by clicking on the development version. Now here in this simulator, you will see a mic option here, right? And or you can just type it out as well. So what I'm going to do here is, let me just ask for a Mumbai fact, right? So I'm going to say open Mumbai facts and ask for a Mumbai fact.
Here's your fact. The first ever train to run in India was between Mumbai and Thane.
So there we go. It was a very, very simple skill that I built. All I did was I put in some utterances and I mapped it to get new fact intent. I went into the backend and I changed the responses. I didn't do anything. I just changed some of the responses and then I built it, deployed it. You can just see when I say this, it's going to say this. Now, the most important part that you need to keep in mind is look at these JSON inputs that you are getting from Alexa, right? The request that you are getting from Alexa is that the type is intent request and the intent name is get new fact intent. Now this is basically what we wrote in the code here, that if the request type is intent request and the intent name is get new fact intent, do this. Now this response is what you see in the JSON output. So like I said, you are going to get a JSON input, which is on the left hand side, and you are going to get a JSON, you are going to send a JSON output to Alexa, which is on the right hand side. So just make sure if you want to build a really good skill, all of this is by looking at the skill invocation, request that you get here in this simulator here. And yeah, that is how it looks like. Now the other option I have here is voice and tone. Remember I talked a bit about supported SSML tags and how you can make Alexa sound more human. Now that is one of the most important things, guys, and let me show you how that works. So here's the SSML text. You can choose the language that you want to do it in. So I have English India, and what I'm going to do here is I have said, I want to tell you a secret. Amazon effect name is whispered. I am not a real human. Can you believe it? Right. So let me just play this out for you.
I want to tell you a secret. I'm not a real human. Can you believe it?
So there we go. So Alexa speaks it out and then Alexa whispers out that part. So this is a very, very good thing that you can do with your Alexa skill. And all you need to do here is just go to learn more about supported SSML tag. If you click on this link, you will get a lot of documentation about this. So say for example, let's open up one of these options here. There's the effect option here. Some of the options that we have is welcome to ride hailer. You can then put some audio and then you can order a ride or request a fare estimate. Which will it be? You can just copy it, put it out in the simulator here, right? And then test it out.
Welcome to Ride Hailer. You can order a ride or request a fare estimate.
Right, so you
Which will
can,
it be?
yeah, so you can test it out. So what happens is Alexa will then speak it, and then Alexa will stream a small audio file, and then it can say you can order a ride and stuff like that. So that is something that we can do. All of this is available on this page. Just go through this. Now, couple of other things. Now, once you have built the skill, what you need to do is you need to go into distribution, and this is where you will put in your public name, the one sentence description about your skill. You can write in some detailed description. What does your skill do in details? And then you can put in some example phrases. So what this is going to do is all of this, when you publish your skill, it will be available on a website called as amazon.in/skills, right? So this is the skill store. This is how it looks like. I'm going to click on finish the phrase here. This is one of the skills that I've been working on. So you can see here, this skill has a couple of example phrases here, has a good logo. This is the name of the skill. This is the invocation name, and this is the description, right? So all of this is what you fill up on this page, right? Small skill icon, large skill icon. One of the most important things is that you should put it in the right category. So there are lots of category here: business and finance, connected car, education and reference, cooking and recipes. So many of them. Just make sure you are putting in the right one, and also put in keywords like whatever you think people are going to search for, so that when someone comes on this page and searches for, say for example, space, you might want to have your skills show up in the search as well, right? So that is one thing that you can do here. Just make sure you're if you're collecting users information, you are having privacy policy URL and terms of use URL, right? Yeah, so now that is how you distribute it, and once you do it, then you come to the certification part. And what the certification does is you just run some validation, and once these validations are run, Alex, you can then just submit it for you need to fix these things. So there are some things that I have not fixed it, like I have not uploaded my skill icon. There's no skill icon at this point, so make sure you do all of those things, and then go to submission and then submit for review. This makes sure that the skills that you are building are available not only to you but also to everyone else, and they can come and use it from amazon.in, right? So that is very, very, very important. Okay, so now that's all about the entire skill building process. I hope that was really helpful. What I'm going to do now is switch gears a bit, and I'm going to talk about a few important links that you should keep in mind if you want to get started with Alexa skills development, right? So one of the most important links that I want you to focus on is there is a Slack group that we have created. We have a lot of Alexa developers here from India who have built Alexa skills. So if you need help or you are stuck somewhere, join this group. The link is alexa.design/India Slack invite. So just make sure you're joining this link. This is something that can help you out when you're trying to build an Alexa skill. Interact with the community and make sure you're focusing on the best practices. Now, apart from this, there are some more resources that I wanted to share. If you wanted some more best practices or want to attend some other webinars that we keep on conducting, go to alexa.design/India. Best practices, like I said, if you want to make sure that Alexa is conversational, you can use alexa.design/cdw or alexa.design/guide, right? These are two very important documents which will help you out building a really good skill experience. So go through this course. It will help you understand building a really great skill, and this is something that can help you stand out in the hackathon as well. Okay, the last but not the least is alexa.design/cakewalk. This is a very good skill where if you tell the skill your birthday, it will remember your birthday and it will wish you on your birthday, right? So, and this is a step-by-step tutorial, so you can just go to alexa.design/cakewalk and try out this step-by-step, and this is something that will help you out, right? I do hope that all of you like this webinar. I'll be answering a few more answers, but if you have some more questions and you want to reach out to me, I am on Twitter, and that's my handle. That is twitter.com/pkarthika. And you can also follow us on Alexa Devs. And we do keep doing these kind of webinars on twitch.tv/Amazon Alexa. So just make sure you join us on all these pages, and take maybe if you want, you can take a screenshot of this page and join these links. And I look forward to interacting with you on these other mechanisms as well. Having said that, that brings me to an end of this session. Thank you so much for joining. And now I'm going to answer a few questions that I have been asked from here. Right. So Saurav Bhilare asks, does it support custom web hooks? I wanted to use services like Integromat and Zapier with Alexa. Totally, Saurav. I mean, at the end of the day, what happens is Alexa is there and hits your skill. From your backend, you can do whatever you want. You can call an API, you can call a webhook, or maybe you want to write something to the database. Anything that you want to do that you can do from a normal backend framework, I think that should be supported. That should not be an issue, Saurav. That's a very good question, by the way. Prasad asks, who invented Alexa? So Prasad, while there's like a huge Alexa team in that has worked behind Alexa, one of the key person in this is someone called as Rohit Prasad. You can just Google them up, and Rohit Prasad is one of the person who came up with the initial persons to work on Alexa. So just Google for Rohit Prasad. You'll get to know about that. Get to know more about him. Can Alexa understand and give response if I give my voice from a traffic area? Most of the times, yes. Alexa can understand even in a noisy space, but most of the times, then again, it's not that really great data. So it depends from place to place. Kranti Gurram asks, how many languages can Alexa support and what are they at this point? So I think right now we support around 15 languages, Kranti. And I'll just show you what are those languages right now. So if you go to the build part, you go to the language settings here at the top. If you click here, what it will do is there are different languages here. By default, I chose English India. I click on add new language. I have English, US, Australia, Canada, UK, French in Canada, French in France, German, Hindi, Italian, Japanese, Portuguese, Spanish in Mexico, Spanish in Spanish, and Spanish in the US. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 languages, like I said, right? Nikhil asks, is an Alexa only approach favored or over Alexa plus Android approach? No, Nikhil, I think the solution here is more focused on what you are building for, what you're building for tourists, right? So I think what will be more favored is the idea and the implementation, and not whether you just built it for Alexa only approach. So even if as long as you have an Alexa integrated, yes, that's something that you can totally do it. Can I build a skill in Java? Prachi asks. Yes, Prachi, there are Java SDKs as well. Just go to github.com/Alexa, and we have sorry, I put it. So just go to github.com/Alexa, and we do have a Java SDK. So just search for Java here. I think you should get that. Yeah, there's an Alexa skills kit for Java, and you can just look at the code here, just go through this, and this should help you out. Right, Ritajya Gupta asks, any changes in the index file? We didn't do a lot of changes, Ritajya. All I did here was I went to language strings and I just changed the facts here. And I just changed the name of the skill to Mumbai facts rather than calling it the space facts. Rather than calling it the space fact skill. Sai Charan asks, can Alexa recognize the language location and changes the language of that particular location? Sai Charan, it can recognize the location. Alexa skills can access the user's GPS data and the location data as well. There's something called as location permissions for that, which the user needs to support, which the user needs to give. And if that is done, that can be doable. But to your other question, it cannot change the language of the device on because of change the languages of that particular location based on that. That is something that is not possible. That is something that the user has to do on their own. Others Reddy asks, can I integrate it in HTML? At this point, no, others, we don't have a web-based or a front-based SDK that Alexa can be used. But what you can do is, for that, I would suggest looking at something like AWS Lex. AWS Lex supports chatbots, and you can integrate that with HTML or other with your website. So that is something that you can totally do. Yeah, so that's yeah. Rakesh asks, can anyone use our skills from anywhere in this world? Yes, Rakesh, just make sure that whenever you build a skill, just make sure that you are first of all going to the invocation name here, going to the language settings here, and make sure you have added all the language. If you do not add all the languages, people from those specific countries cannot get access that skill from there. Right. So that's I hope that answered your question here. Okay, so that's pretty much, I think, all the questions that we have for today, and I hope at this point you have understood today how to build a skill, and you have more clarity on how to build a really more engaging skill. And make sure that, like I mentioned sometime back, whenever the entire hackathon's problem statement is, building using Alexa to innovate and build the next generation of interfaces for tourists in India. So think of ideas around that, and start making solutions that are really good and conversational for all kinds of travelers. So that's pretty much it from me. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and like I said, do connect with me on Twitter. I am at the rate @pkarthikar on Twitter, and send me your questions, and uh, all the best to all the participants, and looking forward to see what you guys are going to create from all this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karthik, for the insightful session. Thank you all for joining. We would share the link to the recorded version for your recap. Thank you all. Thank you, Karthik. Thank you all. Have a good day ahead. Thank you all for joining. Have a good day ahead. Thank you.